بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد يقول الإمام الطحاوي رحمه الله تعالى وأمرهم بطاعته. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructed for the obedience of himself, وَنَهَاهُمْ عَنْ مَعْصِيَتِهِ, and forbade them from his disobedience. وَكُلُّ شَيْءٍ يَجْرِي بِقُدْرَتِهِ وَمَشِيئَتِهِ, and everything functions by the qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and according to the plans of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَشِيئَتُهُ تَنْفَضْ, and his plans becomes implemented. وَلَا مَشِيئَةَ لِلْعِبَادِ إِلَّا مَا شَاءَ لَهُمْ, and not the wish of servants except whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows, whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala plans. فَمَا شَاءَ لَهُمْ كَانَ وَمَا لَمْ يَشَاء لَمْ يَكُنْ. Whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishes happens, and whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't wish, it does not happen. يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَيَعْصِمُ وَيُعَافِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ فَضْلًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives hidayat to whomsoever He wants, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects whomsoever He wants. وَيُعَافِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ فَضْلًا, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives afiyat to whomsoever He wants because of His fadl. وَيُذِلُّ مَنْ يَشَاءُ, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala misguide whoever He wants. وَيَخْذُلُ وَيَبْتَلِي عَدْلًا, and anybody Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala betrays him or puts him through trials, that is because of the justice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَهُوَ مُتَعَالٍ عَنِ الْأَغْدَادِ وَالْأَنْدَادِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is free from his opposition and from his partners. لَا رَادَّ لِقَضَائِهِ, when predestinies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes down, then no one can return it. وَلَا مُعَقِّبَ لِحُكْمِهِ, and no one can turn back against the hukam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَا غَالِبَ لِأَمْرِهِ, and no one dominates over the amr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. آمَنَّا بِذَلِكَ كُلِّهِ, we have brought iman onto all of these. وَأَيْقَنَّا أَنَّ كُلًّا مِّنْ عِنْدِهِ, and we have firm conviction that everything comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَأَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ عَبْدُهُ الْمُصْطَفَى وَنَبِيُّهُ الْمُجْتَبَى وَرَسُولُهُ الْمُرْتَضَى, and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is chosen servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he is selected Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he is most pleased by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as Rasul. Khatam al-Anbiya'i wa Imam al-Atqiya, he is the seal of all messengers, he is the last and final Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rasul of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no Nabi to come after him, and he is the leader of all Atqiya. Wa Sayyidul Mursaleen, and he is the leader of all messengers. Wa Habibu Rabbil Alameen, and he is the most beloved of Rabbul Alameen. Wa kullu da'wati nubuwatin ba'da nubuwatihi faghayyun wa hawa, any claim of the nubuwat after the nubuwat of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, it is utter dhalalat and baghawat and rebellions and deviation and just lust, nothing else. وَهُوَ الْمَبْعُوثُ إِلَىٰ عَامَّةِ الْجِنِّ وَكَافَّةِ الْوَرَى, he is being sent to all jinn kind and to all creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-Mab'uth bil-Haqq wal-Huda, and he is being sent with haqq and with hidayat. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us firmness onto every aqidah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His plan and His takweeni umur, no one can change it. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decides to send rain now, you can't turn it back. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decrees someone's death, you can't change. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decrees health or illness, no one has no say. Allah lahul khalq wal amr. Creation belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and al-amr belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-amr is connected to takwini umur. When it comes to tashri, that perform salat, you have ability to perform salat, or you disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah protect us. But when it comes to takwiniyat, then no one has no say. No one can change it. That is al-amr. Al-amr also belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and al-khalq also belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when it comes to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us firmness onto the Aqidah of Khatm Nubuwwat. Onto the Aqidah of Khatm Nubuwwat. Anybody in any form claims any level of prophethood, then he is Dajjal and Kadhab and Mal'oon and cursed one. No claim is valid. That claim itself, it's a dalil and proof that he is one of the Dajjal, he's one of the Iblis, one of the Shaitan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and our progeny. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us steadfast, us and our progeny till the day of Qiyamah, onto every creed and every Aqidah of Ahlus Sunnati wal Jama'ah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ya awwal al-awwaleen, ya akhir al-akhirin, ya rahim al-masakin, ya dhal quwwati al-mateen, ya dhal manni fala yumannu alayk, ya dhal tawli wal ya dhal jalali wal ikram, la ilaha illa ant, zuhra al-laji'in wa jara al-mustajirin wa ma'man al-khaifin, ya ma'man al-khaifin, in kunta katabtana indaka fi al-kitabi ashqiya'a فامحو عنا اسم الشقاء فامحو عنا اسم الشقاء وإن كنت كتبتنا عندك في الكتاب مقطرا علينا أرزاقنا فامحو تقطير رزقنا وحرمان رزقنا واكتبنا وأثبتنا عندك سعداء ووفقنا الخير فإنك تقول في كتابك يمحو الله ما يشاء ويثبت وعنده الكتاب اللهم إنا نسألك فعل الخيرات وترك المنكرات وحب المساكين وأن تغفر لنا وترحمنا فإذا أردت بقوم فتنة فتوفنا غير مفتونين غير خزايا ولا ندامة ولا مفتونين اللهم ارزقنا حبك وحب من يحبك وحب عمل يقربنا إلى حبك اللهم ارزقنا حبك وحب حبيبك صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم إنا نسألك رضاك والجنة ونعوذ بك من سخطك وغضبك وعقابك والنار اللهم حرر المسجد الأقصى والمسلمين المغلومين في فلسطين في غزة العزة اللهم كن لهم ولا تكن عليهم اللهم انصرهم ولا تنصر عليهم اللهم وفقهم ووفقنا لما تحب وترضى اللهم اجعل آخرتنا خيرا من الأولى اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه سيدنا وحبيبنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين برحمته